I'm a paramedic, and after years of working long shifts, I bought my own home in what I thought was a quiet neighborhood. Along with the house came my most valuable possession, my ambulance. Not a company vehicle, but a retired ambulance I bought and restored. I kept the decals removed, but it was fully stocked with medical gear. It doubled as my project car and an emergency response vehicle. For me, it wasn't just a hobby, it was a lifeline. My neighbors knew that if anything happened, I had the skills and the equipment to help before first responders arrived. Most people thought it was pretty cool. Everyone except Karen. Of course, she wasn't just any neighbor. She was the president of the HOA. From the moment she laid eyes on my ambulance, she made it her personal mission to get rid of it. "This is a residential neighborhood," she said, arms crossed and clipboard in hand. "We don't allow commercial vehicles in driveways." "It's not commercial," I explained. "It's private. I own it outright." She sneered. "Doesn't matter. It's an eyesore. Park it somewhere else." I showed her the HOA rules. Nowhere did it say anything about privately owned emergency vehicles. Karen didn't care. She started leaving notes on my windshield. She took pictures and circulated them in the HOA newsletter, calling it abandoned equipment. She even called the city once, but they told her it wasn't illegal to park my own vehicle in my driveway. That only made her angrier. One Saturday morning, I walked outside and saw a tow truck backing into my driveway. The driver looked embarrassed. "Sorry, man. Got a call from the HOA. Said this was unauthorized." "Yeah, no," I said, stepping in front of the truck. "This is my vehicle on my property. You're not taking it anywhere." Karen appeared like she had been waiting for her grand entrance. "Finally, we're getting this monstrosity out of here." The tow driver hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. I told him, "This vehicle contains medical equipment. If you tow it, you're liable for damages." He wanted no part of that. He packed up and drove off, leaving Karen fuming. "You haven't heard the last of this?" she screamed at me as I rolled my eyes and went back inside. But then life threw a twist neither of us expected. About a week later, I was in my kitchen making lunch when I heard shouting outside. I ran out and saw Karen standing in front of my driveway, clutching her chest. She collapsed, right there on the pavement directly in front of the ambulance she hated so much. Without thinking, I grabbed my medical bag from inside the ambulance and ran to her. She was pale, gasping, clearly in cardiac distress. I started CPR and hooked up the AED I kept in the rig. A crowd of neighbors gathered, wide-eyed. "She's having a heart attack," someone yelled. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Here I was, saving the very person who had tried to tow the vehicle that was now keeping her alive. By the time the city paramedics arrived, I had stabilized her enough for transport. They rushed her to the hospital, and I stood there, sweaty and exhausted, while the neighbors whispered. The story spread quickly. Karen survived, but she had to take a long break from her HOA duties. During that time, the neighborhood's attitude shifted. People realized the ambulance wasn't just a weird hobby or an eyesore. It was a life-saving asset. Several neighbors came by to thank me. One even said, if it weren't for that vehicle, she'd be gone. When Karen finally returned home weeks later, she didn't have the same fire. She avoided me for a while, probably out of embarrassment. Eventually, she muttered something that might have been an apology, though it was hard to tell through her usual scowl. But here's the kicker. The ambulance never came up at another HOA meeting again. In fact, the board amended the guidelines to specifically allow emergency or medical vehicles owned by residents. It was the one time Karen's stubbornness had backfired so spectacularly that the rules changed in my favor. Now, every time I walk past my driveway and see the ambulance parked there, I can't help but grin. Because no matter how much Karen once hated it, that vehicle saved her life, and she knows it.